My name is Robert Penner, and I'm the Cheyenne Bottoms and Avian Programs Manager for the Nature Conservancy. And I'm an ornithologist too. In other words, I'm really crazy about birds. I have a deep passion for them, and I've had that since I was a little kid. I remember one time my grandpa told me I was probably taking a stick and was going to knock down a bird nest out of the barn. And he told me, don't bother the barn swallows, they do nothing but good. And that stuck with me forever. In college, I remember taking a class, I think it was field ecology, and part of that was field sketching. And most people don't do field sketching, but before the days when there was cameras everywhere, especially on your phones and stuff, when you saw rare animals, or like a bird or something, what you had to do is sketch it out and designate the field marks and stuff, then go back and research to see what you saw. So probably about 8 years ago, when I started taking over avian monitoring for the Nature Conservancy, I was to put together annual reports, and I always wanted to put some illustrations on there. And since most of our stuff had to be copied in black and white, that's when I started drawing the birds again. So I've been doing it ever since, and most of the time I just draw for people, put it in a frame and give it them as gifts, and it seems to help them appreciate birds more. I'm really lucky that I work for the Nature Conservancy. I actually came here from Nebraska. I worked for the Nebraska Game and Parks Commission for 16 years, but when the Cheyenne Bottoms Preserve opened up a position, I jumped at that chance because Cheyenne Bottoms is well known for shorebirds and waterfowl, internationally known. So it's I'm very fortunate in that my hobby of bird watching, drawing birds, really kind of runs right in line with what I do for a living. In fact, my hobby is my job, and my job is my hobby. Now, don't tell my supervisors that, because they'll think I'll never get a raise, because I'm just happy. But I'm really lucky. Now, one thing I'm particularly proud of that we have on the preserve is a heron rookery. And what a rookery is a place where herons and egrets will come into a colony and nest. And the great blue herons are up in some trees on the preserve. What's really interesting, we first noticed this rookery about 5 or 6 years ago, and then Cheyenne Bottoms experienced a drought. Actually, we're probably in the 4th year of a drought, but the last 2 years it was completely dry, and the herons moved away. But this year, after the rains last fall, there's more water in the bottoms, and the herons have come back. And finding heron rookeries in central Kansas is kind of unusual, and it's just something you don't see a lot, and just something that I'm really proud that we have. And the other day was out there, saw the adults, and in one of the nests we saw 3 young sticking their heads up, and it was just really cool to watch these guys. They're just a beautiful bird. But Cheyenne Bottoms overall is a globally important bird area that's recognized by the American Bird Conservancy and the National Audubon Society. There's basically thousands of shorebirds and waterfowl that pass through here in the spring when there's water. There's some species of shorebirds that the majority of their global population actually comes through Cheyenne Bottoms during the spring. One thing about birds, they're very showy, they're very noticeable, and they're a good barometer of what's going on in the environment. We're starting to see a lot of the common species declining. And although we do a lot of work here at Cheyenne Bottoms to make ideal habitat for shorebirds, grassland birds, waterfowl, in the long run, no matter what we do isn't going to help them unless we work on an international scale. Shorebirds are international. They go from the tip of South America all the way up to the Arctic Circle and back in 1 year. And to protect their habitats all along that migration route is essential. That's why I'm a part of the Nature Conservancy. That's what we do.